This story looks like it's about the guilt of leaving a partner. However, it's actually about the deep-seated pain of when your trust is broken. Now, if you've ever experienced betrayal, this one may resonate with you. Now, as always, I am not interested in who is right. I am interested in what we can take out of this situation and what we can learn and apply it to ourselves. Am I overreacting for dumping my girlfriend when she jokes about kicking me in the balls? OP tells us that when he was at school, he was mercilessly bullied by a group of girls who would seek him out and kick him in the balls repetitively, not as a prank. They would do it at every opportunity. It got to the point that he would be in so much pain. At times, he could hardly sit down. And one time, he was actually taken to urgent care by his parents because the pain wouldn't stop. So this is obviously traumatizing, and it really stuck with him. And it was something that he built boundaries around with all partners that he had. That it wasn't something to joke about, and he was very vulnerable about it. Then one day, his girlfriend, after not doing the washing up, and he joked about it, said that she would kick him in the balls. So that completely changed the whole drift of the day for them. She then followed with, get over it, basically. It happened a long time ago. You should not still be traumatized. He dumped her on the spot. Now he's getting backlash from friends and family saying that, he's being too sensitive and he's thrown away a really good relationship. So we're going to look at the undercurrent of breach of trust and when our trust is broken. Because I think that there is a tight link towards bullying and tight link towards boundaries being broken. And that's something that we're going to discuss as we go along. And I think it's important for us to start with the idea that when we present ourselves to the world, like OP did, you go to school or you're starting a new job or, in social situations, there is a natural expectation to be accepted. We have that expectation and that trust of the universe that we're going to be accepted for who we are. So when we're not, it's almost a trust being broken, the trust that other people can actually treat us nicely, people can include us, people can be nice, and they're making a decision not to do that. And that's what we have to really home in on, that every choice that a person makes is conscious, okay? The way that we treat other people is a decision. And all the kids that, ganged up on OP when he was a child, they chose to do that. That was their choice, regardless of what was going on in their lives. Because we know when it comes to bullying, the perpetrator normally has a lot of their own stuff going on, which is making them behave in that way towards others. However, we are not looking on that line because we're talking about how trust is broken in this situation, if that makes sense, right? So naturally, you are presenting yourself to the world. You are then disregarded. There's that abuse of power. And it affects you so much because you are, that inner you, it's very personal. So when your trust is broken, you're going into school, you're going into life, and people are disregarding you, the trust that you had in the universe is damaged, right? Why me? Why did that happen to me? Why did I have to be the kid that got bullied? Why am I the person who didn't, make friends at that workplace and everyone was horrible to me? Why were people picking on me when I was going out? And I think a lot of us have seen videos of people out at night, going out at night, and then people are just picking on someone because, they're short or because of the way that they look. And you don't have to do that. So that's a really big trust issue. How can you trust other people if someone makes such a bad example of you for absolutely no reason? And yeah, maybe they have their reasons, but that's irrelevant to us because you know what? Bullying and trust breaking can be, can never be justified. Doesn't matter what that person's going through. We don't need to experience that, right? Then when we're going to look down a little bit further on the path of a breach of trust in a relationship, when actions do not match words. So for example, for OP, he's obviously spoken to his ex and he's told her about that trauma of being at school, of being bullied. And, obviously at some point she's saying, yeah, I understand. I'll always be kind to you. And then that discord of actually she didn't, she's thrown it back in his face as a joke. That leads to a breakdown of emotional safety. Okay. So when you cannot trust your partner, when these kind of things, it's like a bomb drops and all of a sudden you realize you're not safe in that space. Trust is not something that we just give away easily. right? It's something that is built. So if we look at OP, he would have had like however many years. Let's say they were together for 2 years. You know, you start your relationship right down here and you are trusting that that person is going to be reciprocating your affection and your interest. You're going to trust that that person is going to meet you and, you know, go out for dates and respond to messages, and you're going to trust that they're not going to be making relationships with other people. You're doing all these different levels of trust. So when we just say, oh, I just dumped her, it's not a little tiny thing. It's all these couple of years, however long, being pushed away because actually they weren't the person that they reflected themselves to be. And it's a reflection. It's a reflection of that person, of who they really are. And when your trust is broken, it's like seeing them in a new light, right? Like, who are you? That's not who I thought you were. Like, we went through all these experiences, we've built this whole relationship, but then that's not who I saw. That's not who I confided in. That's not who I relied on. That's not who I supported, and vice versa, you know? So it can be really damaging because we are being really sensitive and we're being really vulnerable with other people. And then when we find that, you know, for example, they've been talking about, you know, things that you have confided in them with, or they have made stories up about you, or they have just disregarded you, you know, I think it's really undermined when people that just putting things down to a phrase, if that makes sense. When someone goes, I trusted you, it's just a word. And that word is like, that's the word, but it's all of this underneath. If that visualization makes sense. Sorry, my pencil just dropped. But if that makes sense, a simple word is, it doesn't always reflect the whole connotation of the meaning, you know? So it's particularly heartbreaking when we realize that people aren't who they are. Because when we come down to it, we are all just sacks of energy. And this is our mark. Oh, extra stretchy. This is our mark. This is just the outside bit, okay? And the thing that's going on inside, right? That energy, that space is who is put out into the world. Apologies for the mid-video lighting change. It just started getting really dim. It is like the cloudiest day out there. So I just put my light on. So apologies for that. I wanted to point out though, before we go further, that I want to just go all the way back up to the top, like that. I don't know what this does, but it helps us go all the way back up to the top of the story. That it was put in the category of, am I overreacting? Now, I can guarantee you that anything that you are going through right now, or just have been going through, experienced, you are not and have not overreacted to it. Because we know that the problems that we are facing aren't really the real problem, right? The issue is the undercurrent that we are avoiding. That's what keeps that drama going. That's what keeps the, you know, the patterning that keeps that all going. And I think it's really important to put that in, because the idea that OP is overreacting, he's not. He's responding to the stimuli. Okay, he is responding to the stimuli. He has had a realization that he is not emotionally safe in this space. Okay, and why would he need to stay somewhere that he does not feel safe? The whole idea of his friends saying, and her friends saying, you're being too sensitive. No, you're not. No, he isn't, and no, you are not. And I used to always be told that I was far too sensitive. And that is just being deeply connected to your emotions. And that is one of the first things that we need to notice. You know, that gut feeling, that chest feeling, those emotions. And then to be told you're too sensitive. No, there's no such thing as being too sensitive. You are alert. You are intuitive. You have made up a system in your body to protect yourself. So no, you are not too sensitive, and OP is not too sensitive. He has made boundaries that are really important to him, and they are working, you know. And I think I want to applaud him that when he has felt that little alarm bell go off inside him, because that, you know, his girlfriend at the time, his now ex-girlfriend, made that joke, trivialized his traumas. He went, no thank you. And I think that's somewhere that we all kind of want to aim to be. There is no such thing as, oh, it was nothing. It's always something. You know, how many of us, how many of you, when was the last time someone said something to you and it didn't feel quite right? A little bit of discord. And then, like, we just brushed it off and we carried on going. But actually, why did we just brush it off? I mean, is there a fear that we're going to be told that we're overreacting if we respond adequately to the environment that we are put in? Okay, so the minute that OP's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, said, you know, your trauma is like just get over it, to relax, and that he can't still be traumatized by high school, bang, that's it. That's all you need to hear. It's just one thing. So many of us allow negative things to happen to us. We allow actions and words that do not resonate, that trigger us, that hurt us, and we just don't want to be dramatic, or we're conditioned for it, right? We're conditioned to accept that kind of behavior. So what have you been told that you look back and go, that wasn't quite right, that wasn't quite right, but you stayed there because we don't want to be dramatic, right? It's only a small thing. It's not small. We can decide if something is big, and then that is where we end up getting called sensitive. That's where we get called irrational, that we are too much, because we go, no. Yeah. And good for OP for standing up for himself, because boundaries are not just puff out of the air. You know, it doesn't just all of a sudden, right now, that's my boundary. No, you have to build up to it. You've had to practice it. And when it comes to self-healing, when it comes to self-awareness, this is something that we need to practice. It doesn't just come out of thin air. We need to keep going over and over and over it until we perfect it, right? Okay, one question, just one. Do you allow people to see who you really are right away? Or do you have to wait until you've built trust? And why? I want you to ponder on that. Now, you can write it down in the comments. I always want to hear what you have got to say. I always want us to share and discuss that within the community. But again, this can always be something for yourself, just your own personal growth. But I want you to ponder that, and I want you to journal it, you know, write it down, take notes, because as I always say, self-growth and foraging for our peace is something that we have to put in action. Okay, it's a statement of action, and we have to keep pushing forward and find those things deep within us that make us contemplate where we're going in life and what we need to heal to continue to grow. So, as always, I'm really grateful that you were here to listen to my ramblings. I do hope I made sense. And I am really thankful for you all coming and watching these videos and commenting, liking, supporting. I'm really, really appreciative of that. So if you feel so inclined, please press that notification button and you will be notified the next time I have a video coming out, and that will be in just day after tomorrow. So I was going to say in 2 days. I don't know why I keep saying that, but it's the day after tomorrow. But as always, I have put a few meditation links down in the description box. So have a look if you want to have any further exploration on your own steam. And again, if you find anything that's really cool, you find things that work for you, please do put it in the comments so other people can explore that avenue as well. If you also feel so inclined, press that like and subscribe button, and that way you will be an official part of the community, because I want you here with me on this journey. So until next time, I hear you, I see you, and I feel you. Bottoms up.